Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, 605. Wow, we got about a couple of inches, few inches. It was 1 to 3. We kind of got quite a few inches. I thought that we would maybe get like an inch. Whenever they say like, oh, we're gonna get 2 to 4 inches, I always like am pretty conservative with it. But yeah, we actually got the higher end of the snow, a little bit of snow yesterday. So good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, no school closures that I can report right now. There were a lot of schools closed yesterday. Well, e-learning, all the kids were e-learning practically yesterday due to the winter storm. We were under a winter weather advisory. This morning, I've got so much to get to. I want to get to Michael Madigan being convicted on yesterday, 10 corruption related charges. 10 corruption related charges. Unfortunately, I don't think things are going to get any better in the state of Illinois. The House Speaker, there's quite a few things that we could do as a state to ensure that something like a Mike Madigan doesn't happen again. But we won't do it because we love the bribery. We love the racketeering. We love the you scratch my back, I scratch your back, good old boy politician vibe in Illinois. We love the corruption here in Illinois. And we're never going to make meaningful ethics reform here in the state because they just want to keep being unethical. And that's at the local level, that's at the state level. And it's at the federal level. It is. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. If FBI officials who are tipping off TDA members. Yes, that's happening. Tom Homan said they're going to find them. They're going to, conduct criminal investigations and they're going to prosecute them. But it's happening local, state, and federal. There's corruption everywhere. And this is incredible because the jury was also deadlocked on all 6 counts. That Madigan's co-defendant, Michael McLean, was charged with. Okay, so they were deadlocked in that. So Michael McLean not convicted, but we do have Michael Madigan convicted on 10 corruption-related charges. They were deadlocked on other charges. He was facing other charges, but the jury was deadlocked on those charges as well for Michael Madigan. We're going to get to all of it. Essentially, it's a very complicated case. Nobody really knows what Michael Madigan did. The best way I can sum it up is you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. That's the best way I could sum up Michael Madigan and really almost every politician in Illinois. We've got so much to get to. I do want to get to this. This was an interesting video I saw. It's kind of popular on social media, and I just wanted to share it with you on the stream and discuss it because I was like, I've watched this like several times and I feel like this driver could have done multiple things, but the car got destroyed. So this driver jumps out of the car just seconds before the SUV gets hit by a train. And I'll talk about it here coming up in just a second. But I also want to talk about the Democrat Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley. She said the quiet part out loud, folks. She wants to censor Americans. She wants her party to work with anybody who is serious about censoring other Americans. Okay, and they're going to say, oh, we need to censor misinformation. They say it's misinformation, but really what it is, it's the truth, and they want to censor it. And Ayanna Pressley is out there saying the quiet part out loud. She wants to censor you. Speaker Mike Johnson, the Democrats have now latched on to an object, a shiny new object called the rule of law. They're screaming constitutional crisis, rule of law, executive order by executive order. Trump is ruling by executive order. But, we just have to accept that that's how politics are played now. Joe Biden did it. Trump did it. Obama did it. And you get in there and you reverse all the executive orders that your predecessor had. And you write executive orders, and then the guy that comes in after Donald Trump will probably rescind or revoke all of the executive orders Donald Trump is making right now. That's just the way politics are done now. I would love to get back to using the legislature, but they're all corrupt as well. So, I don't think it's... nobody's really winning if we go back to the legislature. It's the way it's supposed to be, but Nobody's done that for years now. So that's just the way the game is played. And they're screaming like constitutional crisis, constitutional crisis. And Mike Johnson, he drops the mic on these Democrats because this is something new. Like they usually talk about how much they hate the Constitution and how much they hate the rule of law. They're lawless. Okay. They're all about lawlessness. I want to get to this driver in Utah who jumped out of her car only seconds after it was destroyed by a train. Now, this is really weird. I feel like it raises way more questions than answers. This video, I've watched it several times, and I feel like she could have done something else. Like just completely something else. It just seems so strange that she didn't drive forward. You guys can always watch it on the stream. There's no like audio or anything like that. It's just, security cam footage or something on the tracks here. Now, she drives forward, and this is a newly released video capturing the moment here where this SUV was just totally hit by this UTA front runner train. And this is very fortunate because the driver did escape, so that's a good thing. The driver did escape the vehicle before the train hit it. Okay, so this is in Utah. And all things considered, this is spokesman for the Utah Transit Authority. It's a UTA frontrunner that hit her. All things considered, everyone was quite fortunate to have escaped without injuries. So a white SUV on the track that day was first hit from behind. So this is a really interesting, it looks like a big old truck, and this like white SUV looking thing got hit by the truck behind it, and then the impact there getting hit from behind sent it over the tracks into the oncoming path of a train. Okay, so the security video shows the vehicle tried to reverse back into the safety arm. So you know how the safety arms come down when you're going over the tracks. The car tried to reverse, but the safety arm, I guess, prohibited him from getting out of the way of the tracks like fully. I'm pretty sure the driver could have driven through that safety arm. I don't know why he like stopped or she stopped. Maybe it was just the shock, or he. It's a man in the SUV. I think I've been saying she. No, it's a guy. The guy could have driven through that safety arm, but decided to abandon the vehicle, jump out of the vehicle just moments before it was smashed by this train. And wow, there's like $100,000 worth of damage. Now, there's many things I would have done. I probably would have like driven forward. Like there's a clear path forward. Like, I don't know why he didn't drive forward, because there is, from the way it looks, it doesn't even look like there's a safety arm on the other side. It might be like a one way. And he could have just driven forward and gotten off of the tracks before the train came, right? But he didn't drive forward. This is what the UTA spokesman says. He says, in the heat of the moment, the panic of the moment, they jumped out of the car. He jumped out of the car. Then the train hit the car. You may also wonder why the driver did not drive forward or, make a U-turn. There's also like a spot for him to kind of make a U-turn out of the train tracks. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to second guess them when they're in the heat of the moment. This is what the UTA spokesman said. I'm not going to second guess them, and sometimes the view might be blocked, so the train coming towards him, there's double tracks here. Maybe he thought that another train would be coming from the other side or something. And you don't want to do that, obviously. So the shock just kind of made this person, I think, like pause. They were like, they got hit from behind, they backed up, and then they couldn't make it past that safety arm, which was so weird. But $100,000 worth of damage, authorities estimate that the cost is going to be $100,000. Yeah, so it's not exactly clear if the driver who rear-ended the SUV is going to be held accountable to some extent with the financial bit of this, because the impact did shove this guy into the tracks. Okay, so he was hit from behind, and then the impact launched him into the launched him into the train tracks when he tried to slow behind the safety arms. No injuries reported. So that was kind of a miracle, if you ask me. I think that's pretty incredible. All right. I wanted to get to that. I thought that was really interesting. I've watched the video, like, it's just like one of those things where, like, I can't stop looking at it. And I keep wondering, like, why he didn't do something else. Like drive forward, make a U-turn, drive through the safety arm. I just keep wondering that. You watch some of those videos online and you're like, what would I have done in that situation? Maybe I would have just sat there because I would have been in shock like this guy. Okay, Ayanna Pressley. Let's get to this Democrat congresswoman. It's unclear if she realizes that she was elected to protect the safety of Americans, including the ones she disagrees with. But maybe I should remind her that, hey, Ayanna, you cannot censor Americans, okay? You were elected to protect the freedoms of Americans, even ones that you don't like. Here's your reminder, lady. You have no right to censor Americans, okay? So while the left points a finger at the Trump administration here and says, we're in a constitutional crisis, I was in a fight with the leftist yesterday, and they were like, he gutted the FAA, and that's why there's all these plane crashes. We're in a constitutional crisis right now. The lack of self-awareness is astonishing right now. They want to embolden the bureaucracy, and they want to be led by the bureaucracy. It's Marxism, Communism. They don't want elections. They want to be led and run by the bureaucracy. We know this because Joe Biden was essentially a potato, and that's what the way things were running for the past 4 years is the bureaucracy was running everything, and they want the bureaucracy to be restored. Okay, they want their appointed people who are making cash, hand over fist, just insane amounts of money, gobs of money, and they want those people to be in charge. They don't want the citizens to elect representation. Okay, so Ayanna Pressley, she announced to the masses that she's ready to censor Americans, so long as the result is to advance progress. And by progress, she means Marxism. And, they say constitutional crisis. You want to embolden the bureaucracy. That's what you want, okay? And that is a constitutional crisis because we don't elect our representation anymore at that point. We don't have anybody running things who we say can run things. They're just people who are selected and a part of these, unelected bureaucracies. So take a listen to this. This is Ayanna Pressley screaming about how she wants to censor you.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious. Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage.
Wow. What? And the fact that nobody was shocked by that, like everybody in the background just like straight mean mugging the camera, like not even a flicker of the eye, like of the eyebrows. Nobody is shocked by that statement at all. Let me play it one more time for you.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious. Look, let me tell you.
Democrats don't tend to hide the fact that they're salivating over the thought here, folks, of censoring you. And then they're going to justify it by saying the things that you say are misinformation. Okay, remember when everybody said conspiracy theory? Remember JFK, right? People, I've talked about this several times. Read the book, Roger Stone, The Man Who Killed Kennedy. Anna Paul Luna, she's a congresswoman, and she is leading, I guess, some sort of task force where they're going to get to the bottom of these declassified documents. Trump declassified them via executive order, the JFK assassination documents, along with RFK. And we're now finding out that there's possibly two shooters. Okay, this task force is going to get to the bottom of this, but according to the declassified documents, two shooters in the JFK assassination. And, I've read the book. Roger Stone has been talking about this for a very long time. The Man Who Killed Kennedy is the name of the book, and I've read it. It's great. It talks about the deep state and talks about how JFK wouldn't be goaded into war, and that's why they had to kill him. They've always shouted from the rooftops, conspiracy theory, misinformation, and then it turns out, hey, it's actually true. They deemed Roger Stone a quack because of his theory here on JFK and the two shooter theory, and it turns out that that's true. Turns out a lot of things about COVID that you said were true. Ivermectin being an effective antiviral against the COVID-19, the spread of COVID-19. They said that you were eating horse paste. Okay, so our Presley is done pretending that they're done. The Democrat Party is done pretending that that's not their intention, to censor you. She's just coming out and saying the quiet part out loud. She intends to censor you. And they say we're going to censor lies. We're going to censor misinformation. And what they really mean is they're going to censor anything that doesn't go along with their deranged agenda. Okay, God forbid people find out that JFK was assassinated by the deep state CIA LBJ. God forbid if they figure out, hey, the deep state, they want us to go to war so badly that they were willing to kill a sitting president in order to go to war, okay, and make money. So she claims that she's ready to, make this a reality. She says that her party is wanting, or she would work with anybody who's serious about censoring Americans. And I think it's interesting because her party is the same party saying that we're in a constitutional crisis and we have to uphold the Constitution. But she literally just admitted there that she intends to destroy the first and very crucial founding principle, freedom of speech. Okay, so in the same breath, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth here. They'll say we're in a constitutional crisis, but then they'll also say we need to censor Americans. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Happy day, happy cold but free day. Yes, so at least we're living in Trump's America where we're all free. I just have to play this one more time. I can't believe that she said this out loud. Take a listen.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious. Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of
I mean, I'm just going to play this on a loop literally all day long. She said the quiet part out loud here, Ayanna Presley. So it's really weird that she, her party is talking about fighting to uphold the Constitution, how we're in a constitutional crisis and how Trump's a dictator, right? They're all for the rule of law. All of a sudden, right? This is a shiny new object that they have grabbed onto, and they're, we are all about the Constitution all of a sudden, right? Although they've, taken a crap on the Constitution every moment that they've been able to do that, whether it be Joe Biden and the ignoring the Supreme Court and forgiving student loans, whether it be open borders. There's so much that Joe Biden did that was unconstitutional. I'll get to it a little later. Elon Musk, he talks about this as well, where, hey, we're emboldening the bureaucracy here. The Democrats, we are actually not the ones, putting the Constitution in crisis, emboldening the bureaucracy, which Doge is trying to combat. That is, preserving the Constitution, making sure that this bureaucracy is held accountable, that we hold them accountable. That is actually preserving and protecting the Constitution. Emboldening the bureaucracy is a constitutional crisis. Okay, so Presley has yet to confirm whether she has, no shame in her censorship game or this was a Freudian slip. I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or if she, said the quiet part out loud on accident. And she hasn't confirmed if she actually, believes in the censorship that as long as we censor Americans for progress, i.e., Marxism, i.e., emboldening the bureaucracy and making it to where the American people have little representation. She has yet to come out and say whether that was a mistake, what she had said, or this was a Freudian slip, but all of it's the same. Okay, whether it was a Freudian slip or she actually meant this when she said this. The intent is the same. They want to destroy your God-given rights, and their actions even speak louder than their words, although her words are pretty loud here. They want to destroy your God-given freedoms to advance their narrative, and that is the real constitutional crisis, where they want to say the real constitutional crises is coming from the lunatics who, like her, are doing everything they can to end transparency and hide fraud. And they're screaming about Doge. And this, I think, was a protest against closing the CFPB. I don't even know what this is. Hold on. CFPB. This is probably some random bureaucracy that you don't need. Oh, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I don't even know. They're screaming about, guts to that probably. And I don't even really know what they do. Financial firms, U.S. Consumer Watchdog. Oh my gosh, this is just so dumb. Really, probably what this is, what this bureaucracy does, what this agency does, what they probably do is regulate industry. And, if you don't or if you weren't it maybe opens up companies to frivolous lawsuits, and they've been opening companies up to frivolous lawsuits from consumers. I would imagine that they have weaponized that agency to do stuff like that. So that's what this protest was about, Ayanna Presley. So yeah, I wanted to play that clip for you. I might play it one more time. I just still can't believe, and the fact that nobody's eyebrows flickered, nobody even looked slightly shocked at her saying this, tells me that this wasn't a Freudian slip and that this is actually what Democrats want. All right, we're going to be getting to Mike Johnson here. I want to get to Mike Johnson because Mike Johnson was talking about the Democrats and how they've latched on to rule of law all of a sudden, although they are all about lawlessness and have been for quite some time. So we're going to get to him here in just a second. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Woo! Good morning. Hey, I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Look, you've got some time left. You've got about a day or so to snag your deal on our Steals and Deals website. It's really easy. Just go to cities929.com, click on the Steals and Deals logo, and you will find a dozen roses in a vase going for $49.95 right now. And they're beautiful roses. Okay, so these are really, really nice roses. You don't want to skip out on quality. Okay, gentlemen, don't get her the gas station roses. We also have a package where you can get a $20 gift certificate to Brass Pig or Texas Roadhouse. We've only got a few left in stock, so you got to hurry up now. Cities929.com, click on the Steals and Deals logo. Okay, before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Ayanna Presley. She announced to the masses that she was going to censor Americans and that her party is ready to censor Americans in order to advance progress. Okay, so as long as the results are advancing progress, she's okay with censoring Americans. It was quite a crazy clip. Nobody seemed shocked. So it's not determined if this was like a Freudian slip, if she had meant to say that she wants to censor Americans. She actually came out and said that. She goes, and I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to censor Americans on behalf of advancing progress. Okay, so that's what Presley said. So she has yet to confirm whether that was a Freudian slip, but it really doesn't matter because the results are the same. They tried to take away your God-given freedoms solely to advance their narrative, their deranged narrative. So the real constitutional crises here, folks, is coming from the lunatics, Presley, who will do anything possible to end transparency and to hide their fraud. Actually, Michael Madigan, this is some really good news. I will be getting to this a little bit later. The jury convicted former Speaker Michael Madigan on 10 corruption-related charges. Unfortunately, yeah, whatever the verdict is, I don't think that we're going to see ethics reforms here in the state of Illinois. Unfortunately, the Ethics Commission, they actually punted Chad Burke's complaint. So there's a McLean County Ethics Commission on top of a complaint that was submitted to the Illinois State Board of Elections. There was a complaint submitted to the Ethics Commission, and they've punted that hearing. And if our local county board members, if our local county administrators, if they're not willing to be ethical, you can sure bet that your state representatives and your state representation aren't willing to be ethical and implement ethics reforms and take ethics seriously. They don't, because the House Speaker, they have the ability to do all kinds of things, including calling bills. They're the ones who call the bills. They can call the bill at whatever time, whenever, which doesn't give the General Assembly, the state reps, a chance to read the bill before it's called, a chance to have debate on the floor. They do this kinds of stuff all the time in Springfield. So it's very unethical. They're not looking to reform it in any kind of way. So the Michael Madigan verdict, great, but also it doesn't do much. He's just one of many corrupt politicians in Illinois. And the corrupt politicians currently are getting away with so much. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. Ayanna Presley, like I said, the constitutional crisis coming from the lunatics on the left, who will do anything to end transparency, hide their fraud. They will censor you, and they'll say that they're censoring misinformation. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're lying. And they pretend to censor lies, but really what they mean is they want to censor you if it doesn't go along with their deranged agenda. So here's Speaker Mike Johnson. I want to get to this. Speaker Mike Johnson, everybody knows, if you were slightly tuned into politics, that Joe Biden was essentially a potato. There was nothing going on upstairs, okay? So the people that were running the country were the bureaucrats. Okay, these agencies, these government agencies, and the American people on November 5th spoke very loudly that we don't want that kind of operation going on for the United States. We don't want the unelected bureaucracy. We want Donald Trump to implement the Make America Great Again agenda, okay? It was deeply unpopular with the masses to not have a sitting president making decisions, and rather the bureaucracy making the decisions for him, okay? So I just want to get to this clip. Take a listen to Mike Johnson.
As I said last week, the Democratic Party is in a completely different place right now. There's no identified leader of the party. They don't have a clear vision. They seem rudderless. In hopes of finding themselves, they've latched onto this new shiny object called the rule of law. Well, we'd like to welcome them to the concept. It would be admirable if they hadn't spent the last 4 years with their heads buried in the sand while Biden literally trampled over the rule of law with no objection. In fact, many Democrats cheered that lawlessness, like when the Biden administration unconstitutionally forced the middle class to pay the student loans of doctors and lawyers, when they illegally mandated that private companies implement vaccine requirements, when they radically rewrote Title IX to undermine women's rights. those things were actually illegal, and the Democratic Party cheered it. They didn't oppose it at all. President Trump, by contrast, is taking legitimate executive action to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in all these federal programs. That's what the American people demand and deserve. That's what they voted for. They voted for a real analysis and a real change, transformational kind of change in the way the federal government works. And the only people who take issue with it are these same congressional Democrats who never before had any issue with unelected staff or even bureaucrats running the White House for the last 4 years. That's not what's happening here. The president has empowered his new cabinet secretaries and the DOJ effort and all of these branches, divisions in the executive branch of government to go and find where the abuses have taken place. And every time something new is unearthed and uncovered and we share it with the people, they applaud that this has been discovered and they want us to keep going. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Mike Johnson. The reason why the Democrats are suddenly pretending like they want to uphold the rule of law or that they give a damn about the Constitution is because their beloved bureaucracy is in trouble. Okay, they're beholden to the bureaucracy, and they did not care when Joe Biden canceled student loan debt. They did not care when private businesses, had to inject their staff with the COVID shot, with the jab, okay, or open borders. That's unconstitutional. Title IX, it was trampling all over women's rights. Okay. And it's because that's because it was the bureaucracy making those decisions. And the left didn't scream about that because it was the bureaucracy doing it. And the left, they don't represent the American people. Okay. And they will do everything they can to embolden the bureaucracy and keep it alive. And they'll do it at the expense of the American people. And Democrats, they're running around like they're chickens with their heads cut off, okay? And the American people voted for this, okay? That's what I really can't wrap my head around is, you pretend to care about this fake constitutional crisis, and you can do that all you want, but really you're subverting a democracy. You're subverting our constitutional republic by trying to, go after Donald Trump's agenda here because we voted for it. So you're trying to undo the will of the people. I do want to play this. This is a montage. You guys are really going to like this. This is funny. This is a montage of all the leftists in the media. And, you can tell that this is inauthentic because they just repeat the same line: constitutional crisis, constitutional crisis. This is a montage of the media here talking about, let me get this pulled up. This is a montage of the media talking about how this is a constitutional crisis. This is a constitutional crisis. Take a listen. Here we go.
That is a constitutional crisis.
Causing a constitutional crisis.
In constitutional crisis.
That this is a genuine constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis the country has faced.
Constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis. We're heading on into a genuine constitutional crisis.
Witnessing is a constitutional crisis.
Okay.
We're in a deep constitutional crisis. Trump has been.
All right. So there was music in the behind there, but you could hear, constitutional crisis, constitutional crisis. It's like they're trained monkeys and they're just repeating these talking points, and they're just trying to further empower the bureaucracy. And they truly just have a fundamental difference between you and I. We believe that it's constitutional to, elect our representation and have our elected representation create policy on our behalf. And unfortunately, they believe that the bureaucracy, unelected individuals, should have all the say over policy and legislation. That's the constitutional crisis here, because we don't elect the bureaucracy, okay? And to call what they're doing, emboldening the bureaucracy, a constitutional crisis is an understatement. It's Marxism, it's communism, and the left despises our founding principles. They truly don't like the Constitution. That's why they want the agencies, these government agencies, to be emboldened. They don't want these government agencies to be cut. Over 70% of Americans claim Trump is doing exactly what he promised to do. Okay, so most of the American people are in support. His favorability has gone through the roof, Donald Trump, since he's been president. So that means he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and everybody's all up in arms about this. And the left trying to get in the way of Donald Trump and to get in the way of Make America Great Again is a constitutional crisis, because what they're trying to do is override the will of the people. And that's why they lost the election, is because they won't listen to the people, and they're going to constantly listen to the bureaucracy, these non-government organizations that get taxpayer dollars funneled into them. They're going to listen to those folks. They're going to listen to the congressional representatives who tell me how this makes sense. You've made millions, but your salary is $300,000. Like, you've become overwhelmingly wealthy, but you've only have like a few $100,000 salary. Okay, that doesn't make any sense at all. And Elon Musk, I want to get to this clip where he lays out the importance of Doge and the work that they're doing there, and he tries to make it real slow, even for the media, to try to get them to understand, although they won't, what Doge is doing. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Yes, Doge is doing what no other politician would want to do, because it's their money. Yeah, they believe that it's their money that comes in via the revenue, via your tax dollars. Okay, it's tax time. I'm sure that you guys are all seeing how much you've paid, Uncle Sam, okay, and your jaw is dropping, because on top of that, you're paying sales tax every single day. On top of that, you're paying property taxes. On top of that, you're paying real estate taxes, death tax, inheritance taxes, all of that. You're taxed into oblivion, and, what are these people doing for you? Like, really, I bet if I could poll maybe 20 people, if I were to just go up to random 20 people in Walmart and ask them if they interact with the government on a day-to-day basis, like on a weekly basis even, okay, there's only occasionally, sometimes you need what you need the government for, okay, driver's licenses. I think it's important that we have identification, national security things, your passport, your marriage licenses, although I don't think marriage should be a government institution thing. There's all kinds of things that you interact with the government for, but you only do it like once in a blue moon. Okay, like, when's the last time you interacted with government? Really? Maybe, you send your kids to public school. Okay. But let me ask you this. Can your kid read at grade level? Can they do math at grade level? Are they getting the education, a better education than what you could provide? Now, I understand, because of the overtaxation, that it might be hard for you to teach your children at home or homeschool them. Okay. And this is why I've never understood the gripe about teachers making more money. I'm trying to compare it to something. You could do it yourself, okay, and it would probably be about the same. Okay, there's really no difference, and I hate to say this because I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this, but I really don't care. You could do it yourself, and the kids would just turn out just fine. Okay, you don't have to go and get a degree for education to teach. You just have to, have, there's some people who don't have the gift of teaching, I guess, but it doesn't require all of these degrees. It definitely doesn't require a master's degree to teach a child. Definitely from, I don't know, 5th to 9th, 10th grade. Okay, or from age 5 K through 10th. It doesn't really take anybody with further education to teach your child. When people say I'm an educator, no, you're a teacher, and most people can teach. Like, think about, at your job, most likely at some point your boss has asked you to teach somebody a new process, or to train somebody on something. Okay. Now, you might not have the communication skills, okay, to be able to teach somebody or to be able to train somebody. And that can always be worked on. It's a practice. But it really doesn't require, okay, further education. Okay. It's a practice. Teaching is a practice. It is not like a doctor, okay, where you have to learn all of the different, body parts, anatomy, the sciences, what certain medications do, chemistry, all of that. You don't need further education, or you do need further education to be a doctor. To teach somebody, you just have to be able to retain information and train that individual, retain the information, know how to do something, and then tell that individual to do that thing. Okay. It's really, it's not that it's not difficult. I'm not trying to say that it's not a difficult thing. Like anything, any kind of practice, it's hard work. Okay. But anybody can do it. Okay. And really, at the end of the day, anybody could do it if they tried. Okay. So I might get a lot of flack for that. That's just my viewpoint. I don't think that you need a degree. And a lot of people have been brainwashed into believing that you need a degree to go teach. You don't need a degree. You could do it on your own, just fine without the degree. Okay, it's a practice. There's things like YouTube that can help you with homeschooling. They're actually attacking homeschooling right now in the state of Illinois. Actually, I'll pull up that bill. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Coming up, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk, because Elon Musk, he goes really, really slow, so that way the stupid media can keep up. Okay, and he tries to explain why Doge is needed and why it's essential and why the United States must cut funding to these non-government organizations who are really subverting our constitution. Like, a lot of these non-government organizations, they participated in the open border crisis. Okay, they're funneling illegal immigrants through illegal ports of entry into our country, and these nonprofit organizations are getting your money to do that. Okay, so that's what they're stopping, and Elon Musk is sounding the alarm as to why Doge is essential. So we're going to get to a clip. He was at the White House with President Donald Trump. I do want to talk about this real quick. This is House Bill 2827. Now, this is interesting. It's homeschool advocates are pushing back against this regulation attempt. And, the government, you rarely interact with the government. I know it. If you were to ask 5 of your friends if they interact with the government on a daily basis, now excluding the friends who work in the public sector, okay, and get their money through taxpayer dollars, if you were to ask 5 of your private sector friends, how often do you utilize government services? Now, you might have kids in public school. Okay, they force you into the public school system because they overtax you and you don't have enough money to not live on a one income household. Okay, so mom or dad can't stay home and homeschool the children. It doesn't take a degree to teach. I'm sorry. I know that might be controversial. It doesn't take a degree to teach. You can do it yourself, mom and dad. But they've rigged the system in order for you to have to use the government. Okay, so if you send your kids to the public school, yes, you interact with the government on a daily basis. Outside of that, You are forced to interact with the government on other occasions. So driver's licenses, things like that. I'm not against driver's licenses in any kind of way. National security. I think we need identification. Not against any of that, but you're forced because by law, okay, you have to have a driver's license in order to drive. And you can't live without driving. Okay, so you've got your driver's license, you go into the DMV occasionally, right? So there's very little interaction that you have in your day-to-day life with the government unless you send your kids to public school. And like I've already established, they do that by force, okay? And then they take your money by force, and then they ask you for more money and more money and more money each and every single election cycle via referendum, okay? Now they're trying to even make it harder for you to not opt into the public school system by enforcing House Bill 2827. Okay, so House Bill 2827, it has all kinds of regulations to homeschooling where you have to alert your public school if you plan on homeschooling. If your kids, your homeschool kids want to participate in extracurriculars, you have to get them vaxxed. Yeah, there's a lot of regulations in this bill. Now, when you read the regulations at first, you're going to be like, oh, this isn't that bad, Kat. You're sounding the alarm for no reason. No, they do this all of the time. They start out with little bills like this where you're like, okay, yeah, I'd alert my public school that I'm homeschooling. I have no problem doing that. It's a game with them. They will come after your rights to homeschool your child, okay, and they will do it little by little each year until homeschooling is outlawed in the state of Illinois. But don't believe me, it will happen if we allow for this piece of legislation to go forward. It's House Bill 2827. I recommend you go file a witness slip. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. You said it perfectly, Kat. Yeah. After the Department of Ed was formed, there was a teacher shortage. They opened it up for actual teacher. Electricity auto shop for 2 semesters. Go you. Then they hired approved teachers. They were glorified subs, but the kids actually learned from people that actually did the work. Great. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and you know, the coolest part of high school for me, what I could remember is when you would have the people who were in the industry in which you wanted to go into. So at the time, I wanted to go into journalism, and I was really interested in that. And we would have, you know, guests come into the classroom. I was taking an elective. We would have guests and people who have actually been in the industry. It was really cool to be trained by those individuals. So anybody can teach. You do it every single day, likely in your job. Most likely at some point your boss has told you to help out a colleague or train up a colleague. You know, anybody can really teach now. All you really need is like communication skills. So if you're not able to converse with somebody and now some people might have a problem with that. So it's not for everybody. Usually it's a personality thing. You know, and that's why women tend to be more teachers than men. Not saying that men can't teach. In fact, I think they're great teachers. And I think that maybe in the earlier stages, it's good to have women teach young children. And then as you go on, and you don't need as much as that nurturing personality. The man stepping in to teach. And that's how, you know, it really should be. In this country, they've forced you into public school, which is really tragic. And then they're keeping you in public school by continuing to tax you. So this 1% sales tax, they're making it so uncomfortable for you to live on a one family income, and it's really sad and it's tragic. Yeah, the Department of Ed, there was a teacher shortage. They opened it up for actual people to teach, and then the crisis passed. Yeah, so for people to teach, just regular people. You don't need a degree to go teach. That's what I think would really, and we have a teacher shortage right now. If you were to look in the state of Illinois, they complain about that all of the time, that there's a teacher shortage or whatever. And they complain about the teacher shortage, but it's like, yeah, but you guys require degrees and things like that. And you really don't need a degree to teach. Okay. Which is why, when they complain about how much they make, it really bothers me. Okay. Because, let me think. McDonald's employees, okay? Now, it's a little bit higher level than flipping burgers, okay? Everybody can feed themselves, okay? Which is why, the restaurant industry, you don't get into the restaurant industry thinking that you're going to come out a millionaire, okay? You get into the restaurant industry because you like to cook, okay? Something that you like to do, culinary school, culinary. If you get into like cooking professionally, you're actually not going to see a big paycheck unless you're, of course, the top 1%. So those things, those are things that people can do without really having to have special skills. It's a practice, and you can continue to work on it. Like cooking, you can just continue to work on it, and practice makes perfect. Which is like everything, which is why I think it's really interesting. Like doctors, they call their, a practice, and you get better, obviously, in medicine and all of that as time goes on. But that's really kind of contradictory, because I really think that the only positions, maybe like engineering, that stuff requires extra education, degrees, a doctoral degree, things like that, because you actually have to be an expert. We're back. Hold on. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. As always, the Conservative Cat Show is live on social media for you. We try to be everywhere for you, so that way you never miss any of the show. And look, I want to get to Elon Musk. I also want to get to this is a really cool picture, and I'm going to share it with you on the stream a little bit later in the show, but it's a really neat picture of J.D. Vance and his kids. They went on an overseas trip, J.D. Vance did, as vice president, and he actually gave an amazing speech about AI at the AI summit in Paris. Now, his kid's name is Vivek. So Vivek, kind of like Vivek Ramaswamy, but it's Vivek Vance. And he had a birthday, but he was actually out hanging out with the Indian Prime Minister and his dad, and he didn't really get like a birthday party. And you could definitely tell in this photo, he's like straight up mean mugging in this photo. So he's not having it. He's not having it. And most likely he wanted to, see Spider-Man or, do whatever Paw Patrol, whatever a 5-year-old likes to do. On his birthday. He probably didn't want to go see the Prime Minister of India, but it was pretty cool that he did. This AI summit that J.D. Vance went to, he had a great speech, talked about how America should be the leaders of AI, and there's a reason why America should be the leaders of AI. We are we're the only country really with freedom of speech. We're the only country that advocates for freedom. And he said that we should be leading the charge in this, because you don't want AI technology to be led and to be in the hands of somebody who is like a communist like China. Okay, it was a slight dig. He gave slight digs throughout this speech, I think, to China. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. Go ahead, find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, and go to cities929.com and buy your Valentine's Day flowers. It's tomorrow, gentlemen, so you don't want to miss getting this deal where you get a vase, a beautiful vase, some flowers, and then also a gift card to either Texas Roadhouse or Brass Pig. I'll be right back. Hey, smash this like button. Smash that like button. All destruction of women in the home started with Gloria Steinem. In the 60s, radical feminism destroys not only children, but it destroys marriages. It's Gloria Steinman. Yeah, I'm not shocked by that. I don't know. I wasn't around in the 60s. Don't know much about Gloria Steinman. I think that she plays in movies and whatever. I'd imagine that she was a radical feminist. I'm sure, like Marilyn Monroe, she also probably contributed to feminism. In my time, the biggest purveyors of feminism and destroying women. And I'm not even just saying like women should stay in the home, right? That's not even what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody should be teaching the children. Okay. We live in a society now where women can make as much as men. Okay. Believe it or not, despite what the left will tell you, women can make as much as men. Now, I will tell you that women aren't as equipped as men, I think, to deal with stress. And it has to do with biology, and there are certain biological components where women just aren't capable of working as hard for a long period of time. Okay, so there's been study after study done on this, where women, if they're putting in a 12-hour day, they get burnt out very, very fast. Men, they thrive on stress, whereas women, they're overwhelmed by it typically. Our stress management is different. And I just think it comes from biology. Not to mention hormones in women, very, very different. Their hormone levels, being a woman, I can tell you, go like this. Okay, which means like you are not waking up in the same mood with the same same ability to manage stress every single day. So one day you might be really, really high and you might be on top of it, and one day you might be really, really low. Your hormones fluctuate, and it's really interesting when women get pregnant; those hormones stay the same. And their mood is the same constantly. So men, their mood is the same constantly. Like their hormones are pretty level. Women's, they bounce around because of pregnancy and because of, things like periods, right? So it's harder for women to manage their stress, because imagine trying to manage your stress and your mood is constantly fluctuating, or your hormones are constantly fluctuating. And your mind is going a million minutes an hour. Okay, men, it's like this. Okay, so they're able to manage stress much more effectively. But I'm not saying that it's not possible for a woman to, go work in the home, or go work, and then the husband stays home and teaches the child. Okay, that's not impossible. And it can be done because, especially now, because women are paid the same as men. Now, the Democrats or the leftists, what they'll do, they'll, warp the numbers and to make you believe that women are paid like 70 cents on the dollar and that they're paid less than men. But they manipulate the statistics. Men, they're typically in higher stress jobs because they love it. Okay. Like we discussed, men are capable of doing that. And they are in higher paying jobs, and it kind of skews the numbers a little bit. And that's why, that 70 cents on the dollar or whatever it is nowadays, that they try to tell you that women are paid less than men. No, women enter fields that are less stressful naturally because they can't manage stress the same way. And the higher stress jobs pay much more. Okay, so on average, they're going to make more because they're in the higher stress fields. Manage stress through bourbon. Yeah, men. Modern women have been told that being a mom is not fulfilling, or 30 to 50 years old, women want children. Yes, exactly. Well, and just your body tells you all the time that you want children. I mean, this is like a biological thing. That's why your hormones go crazy, and why, women will take a huge dip when their period comes around because they failed. They failed biologically to procreate. Okay, your body is naturally programmed to want to procreate as a woman, and that's why your hormones are constantly like this if you're not pregnant. Now, of course, birth control, things like that they've sold women, it keeps them like this all the time. And that's, feminism. It was Lady Gaga for my era. You said Gloria Steinman in the 60s. Lady Gaga was a feminist icon, also really big into that trans stuff. I think that's where we really started to see the trans movement. Who who are some others? Katy Perry, probably another one. To abandon your parents and your Christian background, and to leave that Christian background and to leave your family and pursue, Taylor Swift. So yeah, a lot of feminist icons in my period as well as in the 60s. They've been, radical feminism tears down families. So yeah, manage stress through bourbon. That's how I manage stress too. I love it. I do love bourbon. It is really good. Whiskey. I'm a Jack Daniels girl, so not bourbon, I guess. But yeah, I love whiskey. It's good. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Wow, I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a daily show, and you can always find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. The bureaucracy is being emboldened by the left. They want the bureaucracy back. They don't want Donald Trump or Doge to go in there and start cutting down the bureaucracy, okay? So Elon Musk, he was actually in the Oval with his kids, and I love how Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, they're normalizing children. You have these very powerful people, J.D. Vance, the vice president, and Elon Musk, he's a trillion, probably going to be the world's first trillionaire, billionaire, okay, so much money. And he's normalizing having his kids around him. Okay. A lot of times, you'll see people success. And I actually think of the Clintons when I think of this. I've never really seen Chelsea. Like, I never saw Chelsea. You never really see the Obama girls either. Actually, Governor J.B. Pritzker is another good one. His daughter actually doesn't even live around here in Illinois. I don't believe. She is always in Florida, and she's doing like horse shows and stuff like that and partying. And yeah, her Instagram is really interesting to look at, Teddy Pritzker. So is the Obama girls, right? And Hunter Biden, right? And I don't know what it is, but the Democrats don't normalize having their kids around them, like young children. Like, you never saw them. Like, you wouldn't even know J.B. Pritzker as a father. He doesn't talk about it a ton. He does talk about it like a little bit, but you wouldn't even know it. He is always around his wife. But billionaires, for some odd reason, I think they distance themselves from their children. Trump doesn't. Even in their older years, he keeps them around close. They're always around each other, and then they're always around Donald. Barron is always around. You never see Obama out or Michelle out and their girls. I forget their names, but see, that's how I don't know. I don't know their names. I didn't even know Chelsea really was their daughter. She was, started coming around more when she was an adult, Chelsea, and you started to see her out in the press and everything, but they shield their children from the public, the Democrats, and it's almost like not normalizing having kids. So Elon Musk, I really like that he has his kids with him all the time. I think it's adorable. One, it makes for great TV as well. Two, it's normalizing that, hey, you don't have to not have children in order to have success. Okay. He has so many kids. Elon Musk has I don't even know. I think 7 kids. I have to look it up, but he's got so many kids, different baby mamas. But he had his kid with him with Donald Trump in the Oval, and he was talking about why Doge is essential, okay? And he's trying to explain it slow so even the media can understand. They won't, but here's Elon at the Oval. Here we go.
At a high level, you say, what is the goal of Doge, and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, okay, we'd have to, if you sorry. So I tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, or if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you looked at the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense. But if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
Okay. So that's Elon Musk, who's standing right beside President Donald Trump when Donald Trump signed an executive order implementing the Department of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, workforce initiative. So really, this is just expanding the original order of establishing DOGE. It gives DOGE, it gives the Director of Office of Management and Budget, it directs them to submit a plan to reduce the size of the federal government workforce, under which agencies will be required. So it implements a ratio. So agencies will be required to hire no more than one employee for every 4 employees that leave. Okay, so they're gutting it, and you are essentially replacing. So here in the state of Illinois, I don't even know what the ratio is. It's insane. So it's almost like a 1-to-1. Like, it's pretty crazy for the population of Illinois. If you look at the population of Illinois, like the number of people paid by taxpayer dollars in government, there's a 1-to-1. Like, there's one person paid for, and that's just way too much government. Okay, so they're putting ratios on this thing, like, hey, you have to only hire one person. If we got 4 people, you have to hire one person back. Okay, so the order noted that hiring ratio does not apply or does not affect the standing hiring freeze at the Internal Revenue Service. And does not apply to functions related to public safety, immigration enforcement, and law enforcement. Okay, so they're going to freeze the hiring at the Internal Revenue Service because of the 87,000 IRS agents or something crazy like that Joe Biden had hired. So they're not hiring anybody at the IRS. They're looking through those 87,000 agents, and they're going to try to cut as many people as possible, and nobody is going to be hired back because there's 87,000 people to work with there. Okay, so that's number one. So they're not going to be hiring anybody with the Internal Revenue Service. But then also they're not touching public safety or immigration reform, which makes sense. Why would you gut those agencies? We're in a crisis, a border crisis, where we have to deport, and we're not going to gut those agencies. And the ratios are not going to apply to public safety and law enforcement, because really, can you put a number on law enforcement and public safety? No, probably not. There's probably not enough people who are even willing to enter that job to protect people. So they're not touching that either. So the order also states that agencies should not fill vacancies for career appointments if DOGE team lead determines that the role should not be filled unless the agency head determines the position should be filled. So that means, like, the agency should not fill the vacancies for career appointments if the DOGE team lead determines that that role should not be filled. Meaning, if they find if they find two people in an agency with the same title, which McLean County has, by the way, if they find somebody within an agency that has the same exact title, the Doge team lead is going to determine that that role should not be filled. They're going to fire that person and they're going to say, all right, this role should not be filled because it's duplicative, or we already have somebody like this and this role shouldn't be filled. It doesn't really do anything. Now, the agency head has the ability, unless the agency head determines that that position should be filled. So the agency head actually, so this isn't as bad as people think. They're not going in there and they're not like going in with an axe and just like, cutting it all up, and like no federal agencies at all. Okay. They're allowing the agency heads to determine if those positions should be filled or not. And Doge is just going to, kind of recommend that the role not be filled. The agency head can come in and determine that it should be filled. And then I believe the agency head is going to have the overall say. So Musk should not have to warn the masses here. And I played the clip for you when he shouldn't have to say this. Okay. I feel like this is pretty common sense. We shouldn't be opting in for the bureaucracy over elected representation. Of course, if you're beholden to the bureaucracy, if you embolden the bureaucracy, you're not going to live in a democracy anymore where you're electing your representation. Okay, I don't know why he had to come out and say this, but he tried to say it very, very slow for the media to understand. They won't. But the left is pretending bureaucratic accountability and ensuring that we aren't like the state of Illinois at a federal level. The state of Illinois, I'll have to look it up. It's insane where we've got like a government agent or a government employee per person almost in per person, like the Illinois population, like Illinois resident. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio. It's insane. We should not have a government that big. Now I don't know the for sure numbers. It might be like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, but either way, it's like one of the largest. We have one of the largest governments in the entire nation. Elon Musk said that Doge would be looking into federal workers who have mysteriously become wealthy as well. So Elon Musk, he said that, hey, we found that it's kind of odd where we have a few people here in the bureaucracy where they have a salary of a few $100,000, okay, and then they somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth. So that doesn't add up. Something's not adding up. If you have a salary of a few $100,000 and then you wind up making millions and millions and millions, how are you making that money? Okay. Most likely it's through NGOs. You serve on multiple NGOs, and then you're paid to, run the social media of this NGO. You're paid to run the website of this NGO or whatever. And you're getting paid thousands upon thousands of extra dollars through these NGOs. So while the left goes after Donald Trump because he's rich, okay, now he was rich before he became president, by the way. They'll turn a blind eye to people who make millions off of a salary of only a few $100,000. They're going to turn a blind eye to that because why? They want to embolden the bureaucracy. They're beholden to the bureaucracy, and they're not going to call those people out. The media refuses to even question why in the world would somebody in this bureaucratic position make millions, although they're on a few $100,000 salary. It makes no sense on paper. So the media refuses to ask questions, and that really that proves all you really need to know about our current state of affairs, where you've got people on a few $100,000 salary and they're making tens of millions of dollars. Something isn't quite adding up. That money is getting funneled to them through other means. And that is what Doge is looking at. It's mysterious. It's weird. We're going to be looking at how this individual is making millions. Chelsea, she's on Chelsea Clinton. She's on the payroll here, folks. I think it was like $80,000 salary or something. Chelsea doesn't do anything, but she has no title in the government. She's not like during the Biden administration, she was getting paid via these NGOs. And that's how they keep going. The bureaucracy just keeps going. All their friends keep going. So the Dems despise Doge and everything it stands for, but the American people voted for this. And like Elon Musk said, This is about democracy. We can't have a democracy. We can't have a democratic process of us electing our representation and then them going to DC and then making decisions on our behalf. We can't have that if, like, there's this fourth branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, calling all of the shots. And we all know that that's what was going on under the Biden administration, because we know that President Joe Biden was not doing much of anything. He was essentially a potato, folks. He was incompetent. He had cognitive decline. He was unable to make decisions. So we know that the bureaucracy was running things while Joe Biden was president, and it's just not happening under this presidency or under this administration. I've got to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news, and Talk Bloomington Normal. So, do appreciate you tuning in. Earlier in the show, I was telling you a little bit about House Bill 2827. House Bill 2827, what it does, it's a plan from State Representative Tara Costa Howard. She's a Democrat out of Glen Ellen. It creates the Homeschool Act. Now, this is outside of this act. Illinois is pretty cool about homeschooling. It's very little regulation, but this is just the tip of the iceberg here. Most likely, after this passes, which likely it will, after this passes, you're going to have Democrats leading the charge and chipping away your rights to homeschool your child. Okay, so the State Board of Education would create a declaration form. So it's a form that high school parents would have to submit to a local public school district office. Failure to do so would actually result in the truancy penalties. So yeah, that sucks. I mean, but you're going to hear this and you're going to be like, well, it's not that bad. I have to inform my school that I'm teaching my child. It's just the tip of the iceberg here, folks. They are going to take this and they're going to run with it. They're going to do more and more regulation on homeschooling. HB 2827 also stipulates children looking to enroll on a part-time basis or take any part-time school activities. So sometimes you can do like a part-time basis, like homeschool for a little bit. But you could also do like public school activities, which is so ridiculous because, I mean, these homeschool parents are also paying property taxes, which are actually here in McLean County way above statewide averages, by the way. So 2.2% or something like that. Where, McLean County is paying more property taxes than any other county probably in the state, or not any other county in the state, but we're paying higher than the statewide averages. Okay. So we pay a lot of property taxes here in McLean County. So homeschool parents in McLean County, although they're paying these exorbitant property taxes, they still can't utilize those services the way, regular, or the way, I don't even want to say regular, the way public school children could utilize those services, because there's a mandate here that you have to prove that you're up to current state health requirements. Now, you can provide a religious exemption, but current state health requirements. I don't know if that's proof of COVID-19. I don't think it is. I would hope not. Vaccinating children is, with COVID anyway, not a good idea. But, I mean, it's totally unfair. It's unfair, and it's regulating homeschooling, and we shouldn't be doing that here in the state of Illinois, and it's only going to get worse. I know those don't sound too crazy, the mandates of House Bill 2827, but this is just the beginning of the regulation. I do want to talk about this story out of Massachusetts. It's Worcester, Massachusetts. Sorry, it's a mouthful. Now, this is what happens when you glorify mental illness. We're going to take a look at the city council meeting. It happened this week. Now, they just voted, the city in Massachusetts just voted to become a sanctuary city for the trans community, whatever the hell that means. A sanctuary city, that implies, like, I get sanctuary cities for deportation, for like illegal immigrants, because it's illegal. We know that the 14th Amendment, your federal citizenship status supersedes and precedes your state level counterpart. Okay, the 14th Amendment tells us that. So sanctuary cities, Trump sued, all of these sanctuary cities. Pam Bondi has sued all of these sanctuary cities because they're operating outside of the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. We know the origins of the 14th Amendment and why the 14th Amendment actually exists. It's because the southern states, the Democrats back then in the 1800s, after slavery had ended, they tried to say that the freed black slaves weren't citizens, and they tried to determine what citizenship was. And the federal government stepped in and they created a constitutional amendment, and they spoke very loudly on this, that the feds get to decide your citizenship. And there's 2 criteria in which you have to meet in order to be a citizen. You have to be born or naturalized, so go through a naturalization process, and you have to be subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You have to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Okay, so that I kind of get, because you're evading deportation. It's a sanctuary for you in that you don't have to follow federal law. That's literally what sanctuary city means. You're not following federal laws, and it's a sanctuary. We won't deport you if you're here in our sanctuary city. They're being sued because it's unconstitutional and it's against federal law. Okay, so I kind of get sanctuary cities, though, because they are actively operating outside of federal law and the Constitution, so it's a sanctuary. Now, I don't get it for the trans community because nobody's prosecuting trans people. There is no trans genocide. People aren't out there killing trans people because they're trans. Like I said, the homicide numbers are kind of interesting when you look at this. Like a year, about 30 trans people, out of the entire nation. Now, I don't know the exact numbers on this, but we're going to say about 30, nothing even close, die from homicide. Okay. And a lot of those, when you look at the numbers here, they're from, prostitution. A pimp kills a transgender prostitute. Drugs, somebody forces drugs down somebody's system, right? That's those kinds of situations. We're not looking at, all of these transgender people being hunted down and killed because of their gender diversity. Okay, we're actually one of the friendliest nations in the world to gender diverse people. Okay, I don't agree with it. I think it's dumb. I think there's men, there's women, and that it's a mental illness to believe that you are anything but a man or a woman. And that has to correspond with your sex. Okay, your gender has to correspond. There is no such thing as gender. I'm going to go as far as to say that there is no such thing as gender diversity because the word gender shouldn't even exist. Okay, they're just sex, female and male. Now, this is the same. I've delivered a story about city council member Tu Nguyen. Tu Nguyen is the city council member. It's a non-binary city council member. I've talked about this city in Massachusetts before because the city council member actually decided to take a 30-day leave because somebody misgendered he, she, they, z, them, z. I can't keep up, but somebody misgendered this non-binary council member, and this individual took a 30-day leave to deal with the trauma, I guess, of being misgendered. So take a listen to what happened at the city council meeting. You guys are going to like this. This is what happens when mental illness is glorified in this country. Take a listen.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Wow.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Then don't be there.
I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
You remembered how many children I have and that 2 of them are trans.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT.
I'm multiply disabled. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that causes me immense physical pain. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I have narcolepsy, and I couldn't drive myself here, so I had to hide from my driver that I was in drag, which is not an easy thing to do in drag.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me. I want you to listen to me.
Let us remember that the Nazis burned the books that the Nazis burned books on gender sciences first. Now the administration has villainized and marginalized migrant workers, trans, LGBT people, and even special needs, denying life-saving and affirming care.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
How many of my friends need to die before you do it? This was this goes on for several minutes, 5 minutes here, folks. And I'm not going to play the whole thing because we're not going to, I just don't want to do that to you this morning. I'm sorry. This is the Oppression Olympics, okay? That's insane. How oppressed can I be, and how can I try to be the victim? Okay, it's unclear why they desperately try to be the victim. They want special rights. That's why they want to be the victim, is because they want special rights at the expense of the majority of the population. And this is what happens when society condones mental illness, and when we condone mental illness, when we glorify mental illness and we celebrate mental illness as if it's a good thing and something that we shouldn't be managing. Okay, if you have mental illness that needs to be managed, medication, therapy, whatever the case may be, okay, you need to manage that, and that's not something that we should be glorifying and allowing and condoning narcissism. That's what we're doing here. We're condoning narcissism. These people believe that they deserve special rights, and this is like the oppression Olympics where they're trying to beat each other. And how oppressed can I be? How many ailments can I get up on this microphone and say that I have? Okay, so according to Spectrum News, prior to the meeting, dozens of people gathered outside the council chambers for a fourth consecutive week. So this has been going on for 4 weeks now, probably since Donald Trump has taken office, which is insane. The group of demonstrators have been calling for a formal investigation into Tu Nguyen, who is this council member. Remember, the non-binary council member who took a leave because of claims of harassment, that she was misgendered. Now these individuals, the screaming people who have mental illnesses, they are calling for a formal investigation into the individual who misgendered her, I guess. So they are also petitioning to become a trans and gender diverse sanctuary city. So that's which ultimately passed at the meeting, by the way. So they are officially a trans sanctuary city, whatever the hell that means. Joshua Croak, one of the protest organizers, said that they feel that it's important that this petition pass, given that the national climate right now, quote, and the attempted erasing of the transgender community at the federal level. Okay, so they think that this needs to happen because of the national climate and because of the at the federal level, they're erasing trans people. Okay, so how exactly are things going to change now that the council has finally or has officially passed this? After 4 weeks, they've been petitioning for this kind of stuff, I guess. So the council officially bent the knee to the woke mob, and they are considered a sanctuary town for transgender people. I don't know what would have happened if this hadn't become policy. Nothing would have happened had this not become policy. Nothing is going to happen now that it is policy. People just lack logic here. What is going? You're claiming that people are being erased. What does that even mean? Being erased? Like somebody's going and rubbing an eraser on you? You're disappearing? Like your whole self-worth is defined by whether or not society accepts you. It sounds like a personal problem to me. Okay, it doesn't sound like that's something that needs to be corrected with policy. It sounds like something that needs to be corrected within yourself, because you have no self-worth, and that your self-worth is only defined by the way society sees you. Yeah, I don't know why you're trying to force people, force this down their throat to accept your deranged insecurities. I don't know how these people function daily. I'm going to be honest with you. It's really sad that mental illness is glorified rather than treated in this country. Everything sets them off clearly. This individual is screaming. We're going to have to listen to the full 5 minutes. Maybe on the stream I'll let you listen to the full 5 minutes, but I don't know how because everything seems to set them off, because they believe their entire existence and their self-worth is based on society's acceptance of their deranged, ambiguous feelings. It's unclear. I mean, if this is like a cry for help, I think that this might be a cry for help, honestly, from a lot of these people. They're mentally ill. And I think that these people really just want to be told, stop it, relax. Let's get you the treatment that you need in order to be a functioning member of society. I really think that they're crying out for help. And the fact that we have a society that affirms this kind of behavior and condones it and glorifies it, it just makes them double down on this. So that said, this city in Massachusetts, Worcester, I don't think that this is going to change much, other than virtue signaling to the world that, hey, look at us, we're a transgender sanctuary city. And I won't be visiting this city in Massachusetts ever. Or at least I know not to visit this city because there's a lot of mentally ill people there who are not being treated. In fact, they're being glorified, and their narcissism is being condoned in that city. So I'm going to avoid that city. That's all this really tells me. So I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Find us on the stream. Maybe we'll listen to the full 5 minutes of the loony next. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I'm just going to play the rest of this for you, so that way I'm not lying. This is 5 straight minutes of people with deranged mental illnesses trying to scream at society to accept them because their self-worth is completely based on if society accepts and affirms their deranged behavior.
Anything?
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking pathetic!
We're all done. Come on.
Of course, we need to continue celebrating Black History Month because in spite of what's coming down from Washington, we all know that we all exist and we all need to be recognized for our existence.
But be aware that you are a guest in my house when you come. And when you come, know that there are strong queer and trans people in my classroom who will collect you with the quickness.
My name in drag is Dee Dee Delight. And my name out of drag is Dewey Cosgrove Atienza.
Laddie LaRouge, he, they, in drag, District 3.
My legal name is Olivia D'Ambrosio. My public name is Livy Scanlon. My wife and I own a home in the Canal District.
I speak as someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am. I speak as someone who is afraid to use public toilets. I speak as...
Okay, I gotta chime in real quick. This guy, if he doesn't have felonies, he most likely will obtain them in the future. I'm sorry, but this is the type of guy, I think, that will go into a bathroom, a little girl's bathroom. Yeah, this is unsafe.
Someone who is a member of this community and is a queer person.
It's mental.
You have to imagine being me and my wife, fearing that our marriage rights will be stripped away at any moment.
Please, I only have so much time. Please, Joe's gonna cut me off.
Which matters more?
Fearing that our marriage rights are going to be stripped away. Okay, number one, nobody's talking about that ever. Donald Trump has never talked about gay marriage and going after gay marriage. Never, ever, ever has that even been a discussion, okay, at the national level. Never has that been discussed.
Covering the legal fees of systemic police brutality or protecting the lives of queer people in our community. How many lives have to be lost before you consider fighting back against fascism and corruption?
Now is the time to say that if federal money relies on the dehumanization of trans people, that we don't want your goddamn money.
I get that some of you care more about easy funding and trans lives and don't mind Nazis for some whatever reason, but
Normally, I would say good evening, but through the chair, I will only impart my sour grapes.
It's an extremely emotional and taxing thing to stand up here as someone as part of the trans and gender diverse community.
My name is Katie. I'm from District 5, and I'm speaking in support of agenda items 10B and 14B. Right now in our country, Trump is threatening the trans and gender diverse community.
Gosh, there's so many.
People here are trying to
Oh,
control
no.
the rights of others, and that's not right. We should make Worcester a sanctuary city for trans people. Everybody deserves
Oh,
to
that's
feel
so
safe,
sad.
and everybody
Oh,
needs
that's
to feel
tragic.
safe. I've lived here for 4 years, and there hasn't really been any changes in how people feel safe in the
Oh,
city.
God.
My birthday is this Saturday, and all I want is peace and for you to vote yes. Please don't let me down for my birthday. There's a lot of queer people that I love, and to Candy Carlson, you should know to never call someone I'm 7 and I know better. The kids are watching and we're ready to vote you out.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, I played it all for you. I I hope you're still doing okay. Absolutely insane. So I just looked this up. In 2023, I don't know. Here we go. At least 36 transgender individuals, people were killed in the U.S. this year. Half were Black trans women. Okay, so here's this. I just looked this up. 36 killings in the past 12 months. The Human Rights Campaign, recorded at least 36 killings in the past 12 months. Of those, pretty much all of them were probably in the 36. Okay, that's how many people died in the year of 2023. Okay, this is 2023. Oh no, this was 84 days ago, so I think that this might actually be 2024. Yeah, 2024. Yeah, those are 2024 numbers, 36 transgender people. Now, let's look up transgender population in US. Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. I did want to provide you those numbers. I said that I was going to. Now, in 2024, 36 trans people were killed in the U.S. Okay, 36 total. In the U.S., the entire nation. Okay, 36. So that's homicides. Okay, and then you break those down further. You would probably have cases where they were prostitutes. Most of them actually were prostitutes who were killed by pimps, drug related instances where you've got a drug dealer who killed somebody. And none of this is really, hate crimes. Okay. Or like, as you would call hate crimes. Nobody went out there and hunted down somebody because they were trans and killed them. Okay. So there's no need for the sanctuary city for trans people. There is no need. It's not unsafe. So 36. And now to put that into perspective, the total trans population, it's 1.14% of the population identifies as transgender. So you're looking at around maybe 1.6 million individuals. So out of 1.6 million individuals, you have 36 of them who died by homicide. And that is not, even if, and that's not what's going on here with the 36 homicides. Even if somebody went out there, crazy, sick people who went out there and we know by the numbers that this isn't happening, but even if that was going on, that's still not considered trans genocide. Okay. Even if people were going out and hunting down these 36 transgender people and killed them because they were transgender, that's not considered trans genocide. Okay, that's a small enough number, 36 out of 1.3, and that's tragic. I'm not trying to, make light of this tragedy or downplay this tragedy that individuals died. Okay, we had 36 homicides, and these resulted due to, things that Illinois are trying to legalize prostitution, by the way. So a lot of those 36 deaths, they're prostitutes, and they died at the hands of a pimp or their drug peddlers, people who are peddling drugs, and then their drug supplier kills them. Okay, drug-related, prostitution-related cases here of homicide. Those are things that we need to crack down on, and then those 36 deaths would be avoided, much like a lot of deaths in this country. But yeah, the people are not going out and hunting down trans people. It's just not true. And there is no need for a sanctuary city. I do want to shift gears. We're going to talk about Vivek Vance. Yes. So JD Vance, he was on an overseas trip as vice president to do a speech at the AI summit in Paris. And I really want to, end with this because I think it's kind of cute. His boy Vivek Vance, seems not to be very happy that he had to go to a work event with his dad on his birthday. So all you really want to do as a kid, I'm sure, is overdose on sugar and eat birthday cake and Paw Patrol, Spider-Man, whatever kids are into these days. But he was spending his birthday at work with his dad. So in this photo, I think this photo is pretty relatable because we all, we all have kids that won't smile for the photo. We all know kids that won't smile for the photo, or they make a silly face right when the picture takes. And I don't know, JD Vance is very relatable. I like that Elon Musk and JD Vance are normalizing having their kids around them. That's not something Democrats do. Barack Obama. Also, J.B. Pritzker, he does not have his kids around him ever, really. I've never really seen it where J.B., like, you wouldn't even know he's a dad, but he is a dad, J.B. Pritzker, but he's never seen with his children out anywhere. And I think that's odd. And Donald Trump, he's seen with his kids all the time. That's really what's interesting about this is he's with his kids. Barron is always around. Now, I will say that Trump being, as prominent, he's the president of the United States. Barron doesn't seem to be around him as much as he is around the First Lady, Melania, probably because he's busy, you know what I mean? And, but I like this. I like the normalizing kids where they're just with them, when they're doing business or when they're going to an AI summit in Paris or visiting with the Prime Minister of India, where Vance was the other day. So I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Morning, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Bourbon in my coffee now. Yeah, I switched to tea. I had some coffee this morning. I switched over to tea, but no bourbon in my tea. I'm sorry. To deal with those LGBTQ screamers, yeah, I probably should have slipped some bourbon in my tea this morning. That probably would have been, I probably would have thanked myself for that. I know people are considering moving to Thailand because LGBTQ+++ is openly accepted there. A lot of this started with the false Agenda 2025, Project 2025. Yeah, thinking that Donald Trump is going after gay marriage, which, by the way, I'm not even really a fan of government being involved in the institution of marriage in general. I think it's kind of silly. I think that should be between man, woman, pastor, officiant, and it should be, you aren't married unless you, are seen married under the eyes of God, and you do it before God. And yeah, outside of that, I really like these courthouse marriages, where you just do it because whatever, you want the tax benefits. Like, that's not actually marriage. That's not the institution of marriage, right? That's the government version of the marriage. Okay. And I don't even think that should be a thing, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm against, the government being involved in the institution and marriage in general, let alone gay marriages. Okay. Number one, marriage, it's between man and woman. Sorry. That might rub you the wrong way, but don't care. It's just the truth. And a lot of this started with Project 2025, where people think that he's going to be going after gay marriages, and that's just not true. Project 2025 is a wish list from a right-leaning think tank, which is the Heritage Foundation, and they put a lot of it's like a wish list. They put a lot of stuff that they'd like to see in there, and it's not uncommon for people to hold the political position, that government should not be involved in deciding things about marriage or be involved in the sanctity of marriage or in the institution of marriage in general. Most people believe that the government shouldn't have a say in any of it. Or shouldn't be involved in any of it, obtaining marriage licenses, anything like that. I really don't believe that there's any room for that. It used to be where the church, they were the ones who provided you the marriage license, and you were, deemed married by the church. And you could take that marriage license that you obtained from the church. And that's hey, we're married. Like that's it. There was no like legal, like you have to go and, do it all through the government. There was nothing like that. So it'd be great to get back to that because I really don't think the government has any business being involved in the institution of marriage. It's a biblical principle, and it's my religious freedoms, right? And any kind of regulation on that, in order to be legally married, you will have to pay a fee. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that's prohibits people from getting married. The bureaucracy of it all kind of intimidates people into getting married, and it really should really just be a church thing. And if these LGBTQ churches want to marry their gay couples, that's fine, whatever. But I mean, it's not a real marriage. Marriage is a man woman before God. Okay. Not before your drag queen of a god or your she him god. Okay, whatever you worship in these LGBTQ churches. Okay. So it's a sham. It's not real. A fee is just another tax. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, it prohibits people from, their religious freedoms because that's what marriage is. It's a Christian religious practice. Okay. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Man, we had so much fun this morning. I'm not going to be able to get to it. I ran out of time, but I'll show you on the stream here the picture of JD Vance's kid where he is just mean mugging the camera. Now, he, of course, was with his dad on his birthday. He was with his dad, and he was just mean mugging this camera because it's his birthday, and most likely he wanted birthday cake. Instead, he had to go work with his dad, and he actually got to meet the Prime Minister of India, which I think is pretty cool. But he met the Prime Minister, but you can tell in his face that he is just not he's just not wanting to be there at all. So I'll share that on the stream with you. You guys can take a look at it. Pretty interesting. That JD Vance and Elon Musk, they're normalizing kids, having their kids with them. And Democrats have not done this. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, they didn't do it with Chelsea. Barack Obama and his girls, I don't even really remember their names. Most people probably don't remember their names. Now, we all know Donald Trump's kids' names, probably by heart. Barron Trump, right? Everybody knows Donald Trump's kids. And we all know Elon's kid, X, right? That's his name, X. He's a young boy, and he was with Elon in the Oval with Donald Trump. And then, of course, we've got JD Vance's kids. And I like this normalizing having your kids with you. J.B. Pritzker does not do that. Most people, when I tell people that J.B. Pritzker is actually a father, people are shocked to find that out. So, I hope that Vivek Vance's birthday got a little bit better. Maybe he got a gift. Maybe he got some Power Rangers or something from the Prime Minister of India. Let's hope that his birthday got better because he is not happy in that photo. And we've all, he's just so relatable. JD Vance is a relatable guy. And I hope at one point, if the Trump administration is smart, that they'd make JD Vance the guy, he'd be the point man for fixing a lot of issues plaguing American families, young American families, i.e. trying to afford a home. Okay, so I hope that is a task that JD Vance is given by the Trump administration in the future. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. I love you. Talk to you again tomorrow. Couples still need civil contracts. Yeah, I mean, do we? Do we need civil contracts? Marriage is like it's a religious thing. It's before God. You're devoting each other, or you're devoting yourselves to each other before God. Okay. Now the civil contract thing, I mean, maybe for like tax benefits and everything, but we should be at a point in this country where you don't need tax credits. We should not be taxed into oblivion where, we need tax credits for some sort of relief. If we weren't taxed into oblivion, we probably wouldn't need all of these tax credit for legal reasons. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of see your point. It used to be, if there was divorce or anything, that kind of stuff would be settled through the church. It's been done before where there was a clear, the leftists, they'll say we need separation of church and state, although that's not true. Our country, founded on Judeo-Christian values, they literally had the Bible opened while they were crafting the Constitution. Okay, so separation of church and state is stupid. Number one. Number two, I think it's funny how Democrats, they'll always say that, hey, the institution or the separation of church and state, but yes, we need to legalize marriages and we need to have the government involved in marriages. For divorces and everything, the church would just handle it. Now, it kind of gets tricky with, if you had like a man and a woman and say the man killed somebody, right? And in this country, the wife wouldn't be able to testify against because of that civil union. But I mean, you obtain a marriage license when you're, if you were to just do it through the church. That's what I'm proposing here, that the marriage license is given to you by the church. And that's a contractual agreement. The church just does it. There's always contractual agreements, that are made privately even, right? So for example, NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, you might have to sign one for your job, and you sign that contract and that's legally binding. So if you sign a contract and the church is the one who draws up that contract, it's still it's still legally binding, like you're still legally bound to that person. So yeah, it's now considered a business contract or a government contract. Yeah, I would say like a business contract, a government contract. But the church can draft it up, and we draft up contracts all the time in day-to-day life in the government, and it doesn't have anything to do with that. But the contract is still legally binding, so you're still legally bound to that person. I just don't think that the government should be involved in it at all, determining if you're married, if you're not, in the eyes of the law. With a contract, like a contract that's drawn up by the church, and then you sign that contract in front of, your pastor, that's still like a legally binding contract. Its effectiveness is still there, but the government had no say in it. Okay, so like private companies, they will, drop NDAs and you have to sign like a non-disclosure agreement. The government had no say in that. They will if there ever becomes a problem, right? Because they'll have to look and see if that contract is valid. But that's the greatest extent. I'm talking about the government deciding if you're married or not. And that is not something that you want your government doing, whether it's gay marriages, straight marriages, whatever. So yeah. Illinois does not recognize common law marriage. Common law marriage, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not too well versed in that. I'm pretty sure it's like you've been together 13 years and then like you're legally bound to each other if you've been together for a certain period of time. There's those that don't want the church to do anything. Well, that's my point. So if there's people who don't want the church to do that, then they don't want to be married. Okay, my whole point is that marriage is through the church. Well, really through God. And it's being ordained, like a marriage is ordained by God, and somebody has to witness that. And it has to be, I would say, in the eyes of God, that this marriage is, a thing. Like, and the only individual who's capable of doing that would be a pastor of some kind or an officiant. in a Christian church, somebody who recognizes this as a Christian marriage. So I'm saying that marriages outside of a Christian marriage where you devote yourselves before God in front of somebody else, okay, and it doesn't have to be an entire church or anything like that, but you have to do it in front of somebody else who recognizes that you are both Christians and that you are both doing this before God. It has to be in front of somebody like that, okay? Now, any other marriage outside of that, it's a sham. I'm sorry, it's not real. If you aren't, doing it before God, because that's what marriage is. You're devoting yourself to each other before God, and you're devoting yourselves to God as a unit. Okay, so that's what marriage is. And anything outside of that, not marriage. People have taken that word away from the Christian faith and away from the Christian people, and they've taken it away and they've distorted it into believing that it's a union of some kind, just with anybody. No, it's very exclusive. Marriage is exclusive in that if you don't believe in God together and you don't make a vow to God that you guys are going to work for the furthering of God's purpose and plans for your life, then that's not a marriage. That's you hooking up and saying, "Hey, let's do this thing." That's they've taken the word and they've distorted it and changed it. So you guys have a blessed day. Bye bye. I love you. I know I read some of your comments. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.